Hello folks, and welcome back to another episode with Overkill Simulations, and we have another Microsoft Flight Simulator news and update video for you today, and there's quite a bit to uncover. We have a major update coming for the Synaptic Simulations A220. Black Square has officially released the Commander 114, and we also have a much larger look at what Black Square's working on next. I also want to take a couple of minutes in the middle of the video to reintroduce Hangar Control and talk about some of the features that have been developed, because it has changed a lot since its release in November. The software has grown tremendously, and a lot of people still do not realize everything it can actually do. And after that, we'll take a look at the latest update from Contrail for the Contrail Falcon 50, and then finish things off with probably the most important flight simulation release of the year: more than 100 dogs, cats, ducks, rabbits, tortoises, and other animals that can now ride along in your airplane. So with all that said, let's get into it. One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together: control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire sim stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below. Alright, so first up, Synaptic Simulations has announced version 1.0.3 for its recently released A220 for Microsoft Flight Simulators 2020 and 24. The update is scheduled to arrive through the Microsoft Marketplace on Tuesday, August the 4th. You may notice that they are jumping directly from version 1.01 to 3. That is intentional. Microsoft automatically assigned version 1.0.2 to a patched MSFS 2020 package, so Synaptic is skipping that number to bring both the simulator versions back into alignment. This is pretty substantial first update. The included Navigraph database has been updated to cycle 2503, and pilots will now be able to select the Navigraph database directly from the FMS database status page. A large amount of work has gone into the PFD, navigation display, and FMS. Synaptic says systems have seen major performance improvements, with the average frame rate gains of up to 30% on certain machines, although your results will obviously depend on your hardware and simulator setup. The update also addresses several WASM crashes, including crashes related to clearing any early flight plan discontinuity and starting the APU from battery power, as well as using the native navigation database. There are additional fixes for SimBrief usernames, zero fuel weight entries, RNAV approaches, nav-to-nav transfers, checklist logic, terrain display behavior, auto brakes, and several other avionics issues. The AFB receives a time acceleration warning, corrected landing performance calculations, and fixes for Navigraph authentication. Cockpit and cabin models have also been optimized to reduce complexity, improved levels of detail, and fewer unnecessary shadows. Finally, the aircraft's downloadable 3D terrain map packages are moving into the Any Manager, with both the 400 and 1200 resolution versions available. This is exactly the kind of early support you want to see following a major aircraft release, or any release for that matter. Crash fixes, performance work, systems corrections, and quality of life improvements all arriving together. So stay tuned for more of that. Again, release should be this Tuesday, August the 4th. Moving over to Black Square, the Commander 114 has officially been released for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. If you want a full flight with it, go ahead and go to my channel, click on videos, and the most recent video is my Commander 114 flight, and it was a fantastic aircraft. As usual, Black Square, this is not simply a pretty general aviation airplane with a few working switches. The package includes two versions of the aircraft, a normally aspirated 1977 Commander 114, and a second version equipped with the aftermarket turbo normalizing package, air conditioning, and crew and passenger oxygen. The system's depth is exactly what you'd expect from Nick. The Commander includes an advanced reciprocating engine simulation, more than 75 possible failures, a fully simulated 55-circuit electrical system, detailed heating and air conditioning behavior, and one of the most advanced turbocharger simulations currently available in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It also includes 15 hot swappable radio configurations. You can fly it with older radio navigation equipment and no GPS, or configure a more modern options, including the Garmin GTN 750, 650, the KLN 90B, and the GNS 530s and 430s. One of the biggest new additions is Black Square's full state saving system. More than 210 parameters can be preserved, including switches, avionics, payload, consumables, damage, and failures. The system also watches the phase of flight so it does not load a completely inappropriate shutdown state when you spawn in the air or on the runway. There are several new immersion features, including airframe vibration and resonance, rough running engine sounds, which I have experienced myself and then some, nose gear shimmy, instrument needles that can stick and require you to actually tap the glass, been around for a while but always a neat feature, and what Black Square describes as the first functioning storm scope in Microsoft Flight Simulator. For those who don't know, a storm scope is different from a weather radar. It actually tracks the electrical patterns found in storm clouds. Not just lightning, but definitely including lightning. So you'll actually see pulses of where those electrons, or electrical frequencies I should say, occur within the cloud system in front of you. Just because there's a cloud system in front of you doesn't necessarily mean it will pop up on the storm scope. It actually has to be active. It's a really neat system for its time. The package includes more than 35 normal, abnormal, and emergency checklists, and 300 checklist items, 10 paint schemes, 6 interiors, and a manual that runs more than 150 pages long. The sound set was recorded from the real aircraft, and Black Square says the flight model was developed using a real-world owner feedback and flight data. The Commander 114 is available now from Just Flight for $43.99. For anyone who enjoys high-fidelity, old-school general aviation with a lot of character, this one looks like another extremely serious Black Square release. I personally love this little aircraft, and I can tell you that on my first time doing the video, if you guys watch that previous video I made, you guys will see that I had the engine running idle so long because I was also doing the bindings in Hangar Control and showing, how to set up that aircraft with Hangar Control, that I actually fouled the spark plug. So when it came time to take off, I had no engine power. It was quite the shocker, and once again, Black Square got me because I didn't take the time to properly set up my aircraft for sitting there idling on the ramp, and it came back and bit me. Black Square, as always, will keep you on your toes, but they have wonderfully fantastic aircraft, and keep in mind all the failures and issues that you can have can also be disabled if that's not your style of flight and you just want an awesome aircraft. Staying on the Black Square train for a minute, Nick also provided a much broader update on what is coming following the Commander 114. The next major product discussed by Black Square is the Black Square Twin Commanders package. This will include both turboprop Turbo Commanders 690 Bravo. The turboprop turbo, I don't know why, it just threw me off. And the piston-powered Aero Commander 685. Although the two aircraft share similar airframe, Nick says they will provide very different flying experiences. Their cockpit layout, systems, engines, and operating procedures differ significantly, making this one of the most ambitious paired aircraft projects Black Square has attempted. The Turbo Commander 690 Bravo uses the TPE331 geared turboprop engines. Nick actually traveled to Arizona, my home state. Nick, next time you're around, stop by. I'm in Tucson to spend time in the real aircraft. Record audio, photograph the systems, and experience everything from taxi and hydraulic steering to the negative torque system, and manually unfeathering the propellers before startup. The Aero Commander 685, meanwhile, uses, here it comes, the GTS IO520 Foxtrot geared piston engines producing 435 horsepower each. These are unusual, complicated engines, and the aircraft can burn more than 50 gallons per hour per engine during takeoff. That is crazy. So this should be a very different experience from Black Square's previous piston twins. The Twin Commanders will also be the first Black Square aircraft with the main model end textures created professionally outside Nick's usual solo workflow. He is still personally handling the panels, avionics, and systems so they retain the familiar Black Square feel, but the new artwork is expected to provide more realistic materials, wear, and fine detail throughout the aircraft. That's going to be super exciting and quite impressive given the fact that I already love all of his aircraft. We also received confirmation that the King Air Professional will be based on the King Air 300. That model combines the shorter fuselage of the 200 with the engines and multi-bus electrical architecture associated with the 350. Black Square is targeting the high-performance character of the real aircraft, including cruise speeds of around 320 knots, climb rates above 3,000 feet per minute, and a maximum takeoff weight of 14,000 pounds. Boy, that's turning and burning. There are no firm release dates yet for either package. Nick also ended the update with a very deliberate tease involving the Beechcraft 1900 Delta. So make of that what you will. You know it's coming. Let me just put it that way. That's awesome. The Commander 114 may be the newest release, but Black Square clearly has no shortage of technically ambitious aircraft still in development. And I've said this with every single release Black Square has ever put out. If you buy a Black Square aircraft, I promise you cannot go wrong. I promise that you'll love it. Just like I said before, even with all the failures and torques and things like that, 90% of that you can disable if you just want to fly a really cool, well-written, well-built, well-designed aircraft. Black Square is the way to go. Before we continue, I want to take a moment and talk about Hangar Control from yours truly, Overkill Simulations. Hangar Control has been available since November, so this is not a brand new release announcement. However, it has grown to a much larger platform than the basic control binding utility. At its core, Hangar Control lets you manage your flight simulation hardware from one central application. You can build aircraft-specific profiles, configure buttons, access encoders, create action sequences, use conditional logic, and communicate directly with Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane 11 and 12, as well as DCS World. It also supports the Stream Deck devices, standard controllers, WinWing and Logitech panels, most Virpil hardware, most MIDI controllers, USB encoders, and Knobster-style devices, as well as Knobster itself. The dedicated Stream Deck plugin supports live simulator data, dynamic button states, SimConnect events, LVARs, X-Plane commands and DCS commands as well, conditional actions, and full encoder support on the Stream Deck Plus, and much, much more. It also now has a brand new HC binding window, which allows you to use the same binding window that is used natively within inside of Hangar Control to bind all of your controls. So once you learn how to bind it once, you can bind that control anywhere throughout the software. Makes it very, very simple and keeps everything uniform. Hangar Control also includes a touch panel designer that can turn a browser, tablet, secondary monitor, or local window into a custom cockpit panel. You can build buttons, gauges, sliders, touchstones, target zones, and that temporarily redirect a physical encoder, whichever control you have selected on the screen through our target zones. It can also integrate with GlassOut for interactive cockpit overlays. We already have a built-in profile and overlay for the G1000 as well as the GNS 530, and soon to be a fully functional GTN 750, supporting both PMS and TDS. Beyond hardware bindings, App Hangar can launch your simulator tools and restore their window positions. Mods Hangar can organize and deploy aircraft, scenery, liveries, and other add-ons. And this works again through all simulators. Quick Launch can activate your bindings, deploy the correct mods, start your applications, and launch the controller service from a single workflow. So, if you are tired of juggling separate utilities for hardware, profiles, stream decks, touch panels, applications, and mods, take a look at Hangar Control at Overkill Simulations. It does come with a 5-day free unrestricted trial, meaning you have full access to the software. Whatever the software is capable of doing, your trial can do it as well. The goal is simple: to give you one place to control the entire simulation experience. Again, check it out at overkillsimulations.com, but be sure to create your account first. Whether you plan to buy the software outright or do the 5-day trial, you must be logged into the website first, so be sure to create that account first. Next up, Contrail has released version 1.03 for its Falcon 50 and Microsoft Flight Simulators 2020 and 2024. This update focuses heavily on the autopilot and flight guidance systems. Climb mode should now transition correctly to the commanded climb Mach. Vertical speed in climb mode should reliably capture the pre-selected altitude, and the auto throttle should properly leave the takeoff thrust and move into the climb position and cruise behavior. Nav and localizer tracking have also been improved. The flight director command bars now behave correctly at higher bank angles. And the speed and altitude selector knobs accelerate when turned quickly, which should make those large changes much less painful. The EFB receives several useful additions as well. The Imperial and Metric option now carries through to more of the aircraft's instruments and avionics. Pilots in VR can increase the size of the tablet and speed card, and there is now an option to disable rudder pedal nose wheel steering for users with a dedicated tiller. There are a number of cockpit fixes, including a functional comm volume knobs, corrected MX20 behavior in the MSFS 2020 version, better fuel state saving, improved altimeter animations, and windshield wipers that can now actually clear the rain rather than simply moving back and forth for emotional support. External trim commands from hardware and third-party software should now be recognized properly. Funny enough, this just came up for Hangar Control. Somebody was asking about this earlier this week, so caught my attention right there. And Contrail has also made performance improvements intended to reduce stutters when using AI traffic products such as Beyond ATC. The sound package receives another pass, including revised engine liftoff and high-power cockpit sounds, while flight model has been adjusted to reduce excessive speed brake effectiveness, low-speed crosswind sensitivity, and landing pitch-up tendencies, and slat-related ballooning in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Version 1.0.3 is now available through the Contrail app. This is a broad update touching almost every major part of the aircraft, and it's good to see Contrail continuing to respond quickly following the Falcon 50's release. And finally, we have something a little different from none other than Got Friends. Keeping up with their reputation and thinking outside the box, we have man's best friend, Deluxe. This is now available for both Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024, allowing you to replace the standard human co-pilot with much more qualified selection of dogs, cats, ducks, rabbits, tortoises, and other animal companions. The package includes more than 40 animal types, with at least 3 variants for each type, and more than 127 companions in total. A 6-axis positioning system allows you to move, rotate, tilt, lean, and point each animal wherever you want. They can sit in the co-pilot seat, ride in the back, stand outside of the aircraft, or occupy whatever completely unreasonable location your heart desires. I see any on the wings, and I'm going to be making some phone calls, folks. Keep them inside. Each companion includes custom textures and idle animations, and the position is saved automatically for individual aircraft variants. On supported aircraft, your selected animal can also appear as the visible cockpit co-pilot, although that portion depends on how the individual aircraft developer implemented the co-pilot support. The package is priced at a whopping $9.99 through Got Friends, and there is unfortunately one limitation worth mentioning for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Installing the add-on replaces the simulator's selectable human copilots. Removing the package from the community folder restores the standard humans, although I think we can all agree that this sounds more like a feature than a problem. So whether you are flying a serious IFR trip, exploring the backcountry, or simply trying to create the most ridiculous screenshot possible, as usual, Got Friends has now provided more than 100 ways to bring your favorite animal copilot along for the ride. And that is going to wrap up this Microsoft Flight Simulator news and updates video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you picking up the Black Square Commander 114? Which of the upcoming twin commanders interests you more? Are you waiting for the King Air Professional? And most importantly, which animal is taking your co-pilot seat? As always, links to everything discussed will be included down in the description. And while you are down there, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out Hangar Control at Overkill Simulations. Thank you all for watching, and as always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.